We're in the UK today to drive a car that's made in India. Yes, with us today is the Maruti Suzuki, or as it's called here, the Suzuki Vitara. Now, in case you're wondering why we're driving this car in the UK, why not in India? Well, the car is not yet launched in India. It has launched in the UK. And Maruti said, well, why not drive it in the UK before it heads to India? The car, as you can see here, is the same Vitara that we saw in India at the Auto Expo. But let me give you a quick walk around just to refresh your memories. So here at the front, as you can see, very angular, the shapes. In fact, a lot of sharp lines all over the car. Maruti calls it the metal beast. And as you can see, they've accentuated all of these I wouldn't say curves now, but they are areas that have been made to look very angular and robust, giving it that sort of muscular stance. Now, it does look like a Suzuki in terms of certain traits, but it doesn't have an internal combustion version and looks nothing like anything in the range. So that could be a good thing for Maruti. Now, let's move over to the side. At the side, well, things here subdue a little bit compared to the front. As you can see, you've got the sharp shoulder line here. In terms of a design element here, you have the hidden door handle up here. So there's only one door handle that is in plain sight. Let's move over to the rear. At the rear, things get now a lot more angular, just like we saw in the front. So these lights, this one I really like because it protrudes really nicely out here. In fact, this fender here flows nicely into here and out into the lights. Looks really nice, especially when you're standing right here in the flesh and looking at it. Now, while the outside here connects, inside it's not connected, so you don't have that continuous light bar. And to tell you the truth, I actually like it. The continuous light bar is actually now too common. What do you think though? I mean, let us know in the comments in terms of the styling. What do you like about the car? What do you not like about the car? But that's what it's like on the outside. Since we're at the rear though, let's take a look inside at the boot. Now, in terms of space, this isn't a powered tailgate. So you lift it up. This is 350 odd liters. In fact, I don't have the exact figure with me, but we'll have that up on the screen for you. And as you can see here, it's got a split rear seat. So it's not a 60-40 split. You've got actually a 40-40-20 split. And these things here, these are actually cup holders for when you fold down that seat. I'll show that to you when we get there. Onto the all-important passenger space then. Now, in terms of rear space, it is a very mixed bag, and I say that because legroom, well, as you can see, there's ample legroom. This seat was set to my position, my driving position as well. I'm 5'8" for reference, so I've got ample legroom. But headroom, that is quite tight. In fact, what they've done is they've scooped out a portion here, but it's still, with the scoop out section, there's like 3, maybe 4 finger gap, and that's it. Anyone taller will find their head actually touching, and especially if you just lean forward slightly. So that's quite something of a downer to see. You also sit in a kind of knees up position, so that's because of the battery down below. Maruti says this is a born electric, and I would have expected that this should have been better taken care of in that sense. One unique thing at the rear though, in terms of legroom, yes, I have the seats fully back. You heard me right. You can slide these actually. So you can see here, I can move it right to the front to make more space for luggage, or, you know, take it midway or all the way back. And you can do that for both of these as well. This one, the center seat is also an armrest, as I was saying earlier. So you can use this as an armrest, and these are the cup holders too. Now, in case you're wondering, this is sloping, and when you put cups here, will the drink spill if it's to the top? Not really, because the bottom is actually angled to make sure that both the cups are level. So nice to see that Maruti has taken care of that little detail. And I also want you to take a look at the seat upholstery here, because the car we have has the tan and grey interiors. You do have an all black as well, but what we will be getting in India is this particular version, the tan one apparently. So it looks really nice. I really prefer this one because it's a dark tan and this dark grey, and it's a mix of leatherette as well as cloth. Looks really nice and premium, and I'm happy that this is the version we are getting in India. So here at the front, the first thing I want to show you is the steering wheel, because this is a very interesting looking square circular squircel kind of unit. Looks quite interesting and nicely made because it's leather wrapped all around here. We should be getting the same kind of treatment and upholstery in India as well. Ahead of me is it's a single pane sort of glass, but very oddly, they've got two separate screens and not set at the same height. So those of you with OCD will find this very disorienting. In fact, the passenger here, when you're sitting here, if you look here, you'll see this mismatch, and there's a big fat band here. Now, I thought this band was for the driver monitoring system, but actually that's down here. So it's looking really odd. In fact, I can see a lot of the band here as well, a lot of this bezel. So this fat bezel here and then the thinner bezel, this looks a little bit too off-center. So that's quite odd. What's also off-center is this. Again, the passenger here will notice it more because from here, yeah, it looks kind of fine because the air vent will blow to the rear or to you if you want, but it is offset to this side. But that's all part of, I guess, the funky design. I don't know. Again, let me know what you think about this kind of setup. The rest of the bits inside here, you've got storage down below here, as is very common nowadays with EVs. Below this sort of floating center console, you've got cup holders here, a wireless phone charger here. What I'm really happy to see is this bank of buttons here. Always nice to have buttons and a dial for volume and for, of course, the air conditioning, and there are toggle switches here for the temperature. So very nice and easy to use while on the move, and this is how it should always be. There's also a sunroof, steering mounted audio controls, a 360-degree camera, power driver's seat, Infinity branded audio, and on the safety front, 7 airbags and a full ADAS suite. So it's well loaded, something that Maruti has been paying attention to of late. Now, up here at the front, in case you were expecting a frunk, well, you're not going to have that here because the front motor and the controller, it's all housed here. Yes, in fact, in the two-wheel drive version, the main motor is in the front, which is quite odd for what Maruti says is a born electric, because typically when you do a born electric, you do a rear motor because that's the better position to have a main motor in. For one, because all of the power goes to the rear wheels and not at the front where you're having to contend with also steering input. So manufacturers tend to want to put it towards the rear in a born EV. It's also safer in terms of you get to use this area better in terms of crash safe, and all the high voltage sort of cabling also stays behind. But you do have versions which have all-wheel drive, and then you have a front motor too. This one has all-wheel drive, but the secondary motor is at the rear. Onto the driving then. The Vitara is powered by LFP blade cells, and there's a 61 kilowatt-hour battery powering a 184 horsepower dual motor setup, but that's not likely coming to India. Instead, we'll get the single motor options, and those comprise of a 49 kilowatt-hour battery with a 144 horsepower motor and a more powerful 174 horsepower motor output with the 61 kilowatt-hour battery, which is what we're driving here today. So what does that feel like? Well, it's quite nice. I mean, in terms of horsepower figures, yes, 174 is a lot, but it doesn't really feel that way because the tuning is more for regular kind of, I would say, strong but not peppy and spiky power delivery. And that's even in sport mode. So for those looking for that peppy, sharp response from your EV, well, you're not going to find that here. So even if I were to put my foot down right now, I'm in eco mode, but I'm going to move to sport here, put my foot down like this. Yeah, you will shoot off quickly enough, but it doesn't really pin you back. And that's a nice thing. As you know, I very often say this when driving EVs, every EV doesn't need to just dump all its power in one go just because it can. There's adjustable regen levels as well to aid charge. But oddly, you have to set the desired level on the touchscreen and then engage it via a center console button. In terms of the claimed range, the WLTP is somewhere around the 420. I'm not sure, but I'll have that up on the screen for you. Maruti says, though, it's 500 plus. So, well, we'll wait to see for the official ARAI figures when the car does launch. So for a family SUV, this tuning is just fine. And that non-spiky nature is also in a bid to preserve range. In terms of suspension, you've got McPherson struts up front, a twist beam on the rear, fairly standard in that sense. The setup though is on the firm side. In fact, it's typically European, so it is firm. Remember, this is a global car, and in fact is very important for Suzuki to get it right in markets like the UK. India, in fact, may be one of the smaller markets for the Vitara. So they have set it up for Europe. You can tell that from the firmer ride. Now, what that means is at higher speeds, you do have good composure, but over bumps and ruts, there isn't too much plans in these springs at the damper. It feels over damped actually, and you do heave up and down. So it will be interesting to see. Yeah, like right now, see, we're going over these rumblers. You can feel that coming through. So it will be interesting to see how the car fares over potholes in India. So there is some level of road noise. Now, yes, the road surface is quite coarse here, but the speed is not too high, 50 miles per hour, so somewhere around 80 kilometers per hour, and you can hear that constant tire drone over it. So that's the e-Vitara. As you've seen, it's not your typical Maruti that checks all boxes. Space isn't a strong point and efficiency isn't class leading. But not being a typical Maruti also means the interiors don't feel built to a cost, and it should arrive well equipped too. Plus, the e-Vitara's easy to drive character is perfect for a relaxed everyday car. And it's a handsome looker too, one that doesn't share its top hat with any other model. And distinction is what EV buyers seem to be after. So that should really help the e-Vitara's case, which isn't going to be a walk in the park, and pricing will be key. At the low end, the smaller 41 kilowatt-hour battery should start at around 17 lakh rupees, undercutting the 42 kilowatt-hour electric Creta. But at the higher end, the 61 kilowatt-hour battery on the e-Vitara might just sit above the Creta, which has a 51 kilowatt-hour battery. And that model comes in at the 24 lakh mark. So it's game on then for these long-time rivals who will now meet on the electric field too.